Silverados in regular cab, double cab, and crew cab models with gas or diesel engines. Our 3-liter Duramax diesel gets fantastic fuel mileage, 20 city, 30 highway, while working for you. We have 6.6 engines in gas or diesel for our HD Silverados as well. Come see our inventory today at bombchevybuick.com, right from the start.
Hi, this is Dr. Sue Stur at Covenant Animal Clinic, your hometown vet in Clinton. Now is the time to protect your pet from heartworm disease. We are now offering ProHeart 6, which protects your pet for 6 months with one simple injection. Get all the details by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Whether it's damage from a fire or Illinois storms, ServPro of Piatt DeWitt counties will make it like it never even happened. Find out how they can help you by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
News time is 8 minutes after 8 o'clock on this Thursday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 8 o'clock newscast. We stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Ag education is an important subject for students in Central Illinois. Henry Kraft is a 4-H youth development educator with the University of Illinois Extension for DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties and explains he is in the classrooms with teachers and students.
I'm a 4-H youth development educator with DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties. So I work a lot with students, teachers in the classroom in Clinton, Monticello, Decatur, but also outside of that. So a lot of schools like DeLand Weldon or Cerro Gordo, Bement, things like that. This month is my 1-year anniversary with 4-H, so I'm pretty excited. But working with the schools has been really gratifying. So you get to go in and take hands-on experiences to students that may or may not have experience with 4-H.
Kraft explains part of his job is getting into classrooms and exposing kids to 4-H and expanding on the notions the students may or may not already have about it.
4-H is super robust, right? So there's a lot to it. So we've got our clubs that are really impacting kids on a local level in that traditional 4-H format. So part of my role is going into the schools and exposing kids to 4-H concepts and ideas outside of what they would normally think of as 4-H. And so when I go into the classroom, all these kids don't have to be signed up for 4-H, but they get to have a 4-H experience in the class. And that's really the cool part about what I get to do, coming alongside teachers and augmenting their learning, because man, I don't know if you've talked to many teachers lately, but that is a hard gig, and they get to do a lot of the hard stuff, and they don't always get to do the fun stuff. So when 4-H can come in and augment what they're doing and provide some of that fun stuff, that's where I get a lot of joy to go in the classroom with kids.
Kraft explains his programs in schools are an adventure, and many of the programs are made for specific interests, which can be a challenge. He notes he is in contact with principals, teachers, and administrators to make connections.
Yeah, it can be an adventure trying to find that right person that fits, because a lot of our programs are very specific to a certain type of classroom, a certain teacher. But yeah, I mean, reaching out to principals, superintendents, and then also there are teachers that hear about our programs from peers and say, oh man, I really want Henry, Kendra, Rachel, Eric in my classroom. So they reach out to us in our local offices and inquire about our various programs. One of the things that I try to do when I work with teachers is really find out what they're teaching and what their needs are. And so that we don't just do canned programs, we also work with teachers to create things that meet their needs. And so I always say this to any teacher that I work with is 4-H doesn't want to be an extra thing or burden. We want to be an augment and a boon and an excitement in your classroom. So that's really the benefit to the teachers, is to really get the kids excited about what they're learning.
If you'd like Kraft to be a part of your classroom, email him at hkraft@illinois.edu. Domestic abuse can come in many forms and isn't always physical. Andrea Coker is the Director of Services at Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County and explains many people believe if their situation does not involve physical violence, then it's not a domestic abuse situation.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, I know I talk about this a lot, but I just continue to see it all the time whenever I have conversations with victims, that people believe if their relationship isn't physically violent, then my work doesn't apply to them, or domestic violence isn't what they're living. They just have a bad relationship, or their relationship just isn't great, or it's going through a rough patch, or whatever the excuses may be. The misconception is that if it's not physical, it's not deviant. It just isn't true.
According to Coker, abusers often look for control in the relationship. This can be because of many reasons, but most abusers often display the same behaviors.
Essentially, like the goal of a person who's abusive, and like it's not like a person wakes up one day and is like, you know what, I think I'll abuse someone today. But what abusers do is that they get very comfortable with being in control or having control over another person. And that may have started small for them too. It may just be the way that the relationships were around that person. Whenever I'm going to use him because it's a little bit easier for context.
Sure.
But it just may be how he grew up, and that's what was modeled to him. Or it could be that that's been successful for him because maybe a relationship was going to end and it stopped because he controlled the other person. So it's working for him. Or it could be, there's so many areas of why a person becomes controlling. But the end goal for an abusive person is that they have control over their partner or over their victim. There's truly 8 ways that happens, and they don't happen independently. Almost every single victim experiences all 8 of them.
Wow.
They don't realize it at the time. Sometimes some are more significant than others, but it's just the reality that abusive people carry these behaviors.
Coker says there are 8 behaviors that victims of domestic often face from their abusers. Although they may not be in a specific order or present themselves the same way, these are the most common.
They are coercion, so using coercion and threats against their victim, intimidating, emotional abuse, using isolation, minimizing behaviors and gaslighting. If there are children, using children as pawns or using children against them in general, some form of male privilege, and economic abuse.
Next week, Coker will dive further into those 8. For now, you can find more information about Willow Tree Missions at willowtreemissions.org or on Facebook. It's back to school time in Illinois, and as students are back in the full swing of the school year, some of the high schoolers are getting their driver's licenses for the first time, and a local law enforcement agency generally takes notice of the excited first-time independent drivers. Lincoln Police Chief Joe Meister says they deal with traffic complaints around the time school gets out in the community.
Yeah, we sure do, and we've been taking some measures, extra patrol details to try to curb some of that speeding or reckless driving with the new drivers who are excited to get out there and go fast. We're going to move a speed radar sign from an area that it's no longer needed to Pulaski Street to try to help just remind those kids, you're going too fast, slow down. I think they help out, I really do. If a person is focusing their attention down the roadway the way they should be, that when that speed sign pops up and shows them how fast they're going, I think it helps to slow them down.
Unrelated, but still on the radar of law enforcement right now in Lincoln is property crimes. Chief Meister explains they are seeing a lot of crimes at businesses. He gives props to his detectives, who he says have extensive experience in law enforcement and doing detective work. Portions of Illinois should receive a good soaking this weekend. The southern half of the state is likely to see the remnants of Tropical Storm Francine beginning late this morning, says freeze notice meteorologist Paul Otto.
So it's going to go through many phases before it gets to us. But the latest maps, they're showing even a little bit of a western progression to its...
Temps will also warm up today with most of the area and the state approaching 90 degrees. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.